Hello again. It is Wing Nation presented by Sage Fruit, talking sprint car racing, our favorite time of the week, and we are so glad that you have joined us. Steve Post here in our studios in Concord, North Carolina, joined as I am each and every week from the Lethal Chassis Studios up in central Pennsylvania, Ashley Stremme. Hello, Ashley. How are you?
I am great. We had some awesome racing here in central Pennsylvania over the weekend, so things are good. And it was Posse that ended up taking home the Morgan Cup, so it was a good week.
No doubt, Brent Marks, when the Posse hangs out of the Morgan Cup, everything in central Pennsylvania is all right. It is really, really good. And let's get right to that. Let's take a lap around the sprint car world because turn number one is said Brent Marks. He won the Morgan Cup over the World of Outlaw NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars. It is his second World of Outlaw win this season. He also won the $20,000 Texas win. But Ashley, Brent Marks has certainly got things figured out at Williams Grove, that's for sure.
Yes, his fourth win of the season, obviously all-stars with the Williams Grove, and then, of course, weekly racing at Lincoln. But he's got Central Pennsylvania figured out, but I truly believe, and he's talked about it, going on tour with the World of Outlaws the last couple of years has really solidified who Brent Marks is as a racer, and when he comes home, all things line up.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Williams Grove, he has now won the Morgan Cup, the Summer Nationals, and the National Open. So those are the big World of Outlaw races at Williams Grove. And over the last few years, he has cashed in on all of them. So Brent Marks, doesn't look like there's any slowing him down. That is for sure. Let's go off from turn number one to turn number two. Another guy who had a really good weekend, Justin Peck, twice a winner with the All-Stars. Ashley, if you're Justin Peck, you got to be happy with the way things are going with that Buick Motorsports car as well.
No doubt about it. I mean, I know it was with the All-Stars, but he also ran really well with the World of Outlaws. I think it was 4 races in 5 days, 3 states, 2 wins, and 2 second places. So that 13 car is on fire for sure as well.
Yeah, that World of Outlaw race down at Lincoln, the Gettysburg Clash, he about won that thing. I mean, that was a great run, that's for sure. So, yeah, Justin Peck doing well. That is for sure, and good stuff. Not one of our turns, but a guy we're going to talk to here on the program in just a moment on the Hercules Tire Hotline. Brian Brown, fresh off from a win. Ashley, I always enjoy getting a chance to catch up with Brownie. That's who we're going to talk to here on the show.
It's true. He's great for his sponsors. He's got awesome sponsors, so I'm sure we'll talk about them. You always got to pick up a pizza at Casey's when you're in the area of one, and now some frozen custard from Andy's, it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Brownie's got us covered. Got us covered with all the food, all the beverages all along the way, and Victory Lane at Knoxville Raceway as well. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to step away, and when we come back, we will talk to a now 58 race winner. Gosh, that's mind-boggling. Can't even say it. A 58 race winner at Knoxville, Brian Brown. He joins us next. Welcome back. It is Wing Nation presented by Sage Fruit. Let's get to it. The Hercules Tire Hotline wide open here with a guy that just picked up the win on Saturday night at Knoxville Raceway. Brian Brown joins us. Hello, Brownie. Welcome back to Wing Nation.
Good to be back, guys. Looks like you guys are doing well, and always good to be on Wing Nation.
Well, it's good to talk to you. Now, something far more important than winning at Knoxville, though, I want to thank you here. You suggested a Q39 barbecue in Kansas. I was in Kansas for NASCAR last weekend. My man, you know your barbecue in Kansas City. You guys have got some good ones there. That Q39 was on point. I appreciate it.
Well, first and foremost, that's in Missouri. So we got to make sure that there's a Kansas Missouri kind of a little rivalry. So if we're gonna claim the barbecue, that's Missouri barbecue that you were looking where you were at. So just to kind of clarify.
There we go. I got to keep straight there on that the Kansas City Missouri barbecue. There we go. We're good now, right?
There we go. Q39s. That's in my top 2 or 3. So that's I knew you'd like it. So that's why I got one more in my back pocket when you come back later in the year that I'm gonna slide your way, and we'll see how that one ranks for you.
All right. Man, that sounds good. I'm into it. Ashley, this guy's got us hooked up, not only with that, but the frozen custard and the pizza at Casey's. We need food suggestions, Ashley. We go to Brian Brown, right?
Right. That is so true. I mean, Brian, all these awesome sponsors, Casey and their pizza, of course, Now Andy's Frozen Custard. What is it with these food places that you got coming on as sponsors?
Well, then you gotta get the Rowdy fat burner here. You drink it and it takes off fat, so that's even better. So like if you're gonna have Casey's Pizza and Andy's, you're gonna have to have something, either a good gym or something. So no, we've been very lucky. Casey's obviously a longtime partner of ours, and now Andy's Frozen Custard, a family-owned business from Springfield, Missouri. 110 locations now. They're in your Charlotte area, so I've known those people for a long time. Great, great people, Andy and Dana Kuntz and their mom, or Andy's mom, who started it. Just very lucky to be associated with great partners like that, and it was good to get them in victory lane for the first time a couple weeks ago, and back it up with a win last Saturday.
Yeah, you picked up your second win at Knoxville. This is the 58th career win, breaking a tie with Steve Kinser. When you're breaking ties with Steve Kinser, you're doing something right. How do you feel? How's your performance been at Knoxville? You content with where you guys are at now?
I think we're gaining on it. I feel like I'm better there today than I have been in maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years. So I feel like that. Our package is pretty good. Danny, and Justin and my dad have been doing a good job making sure our car is good, and I feel like we're doing things a little bit different than we have in the past there. But I feel like that our package is maybe as good as I've been there in 5 years. So that's a good sign. I feel like we qualify well. We're good in the heats, and our feature package has been good. So I'm excited, but that can change. I mean, throughout the season, it seems like we go to a couple different transitions of how our car acts based on maybe the tires a little bit different or whatever. But just as long as we stay on top of that, I feel like we'll have a good package there all year long.
Brian, you mentioned Danny, obviously. Danny Lasowski, your uncle, your dad also helps out. Is it harder or is it easier working with family, especially somebody like the dude?
I love it. I mean, it's been great so far. It's hard to find guys that have as much passion as you do about the sport, and believe in you as much as those guys do. I think, family. If you have just crew guys, yeah, they believe in you, but when they're family, they really believe in you. And we have another kid, Justin Lawler, out of Pennsylvania, a 17-year-old kid that's with us this year, and he's bought into of what we believe in, and it's real easy to get up on the wheel and do whatever it takes to win. When you're in contention to win, when you got guys in the pit area that would do the same for you. So I feel like that's where we're at right now as a team, that whatever it takes to win, whether that's mounting 10 tires to get the right size, whether that's driving throughout the night to get to the track, or whether that's me doing my job on the track, our motto, whatever it takes. And that's going to be our motto going forward. And I felt like on Saturday, I didn't have the fastest car. But I maybe wanted it maybe more than the next guy. And I just found a way to get to the front, and found a way to block enough, and found a way to get to victory lane.
No doubt. That's what it's about, is getting those wins. What is it like? What is the advantage? And granted, this is one of the all-time greats, your Uncle Danny, Hall of Famer Danny Lasowski. What is it like, though, to have a crew chief that has a lot of driving experience? I'm sure that's very valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. I just don't feel like you can put a dollar figure on it. It's when you have a guy that you can talk about before the race. Okay, what, in your opinion, you've seen 1,000 more races than I ever have. In your opinion, how's this going to play out? Where do you feel like I should be the first 10 laps, or where you think it's going to be at towards the end? And having that just reassures me as a driver that, hey, I'm thinking right, or maybe I'm not thinking right. And then being able to go back on a Monday morning and say, okay, I ran 20 laps. There was different restarts. I was in leading the restarts. I was second in the restarts. Did you see anything I did wrong in those 20 laps? Because there are times that I make wrong decisions, and he's bluntly honest with me. That said, hey, yeah, that wasn't a very smart move. I passed Linton Jeffrey middle part of that race, and then moved to a different line, and he got back by me. You cannot do that. You can't give guys second chances. And so even though I won, there's things I could have done better or cleaned up. And having a guy like Danny that's been there, done that, just gives you that reassurance that, what you're doing is correct. Or you go out a place to qualify, and maybe you're the 20th car out. Well, you can't see what's going on the track throughout qualifying. Well, maybe a guy changed his move, changed where he ran on the track, the 11th car out. Danny will come over to the car and say, hey, this guy did this. This is what you need to do. And confidence wise, that means a lot versus having a guy saying, well, I think you should do this. So it's been good so far. And like I said, I knew working with Danny was going to be good. And so far it's been just like that. And having Justin with us and having my dad, and my dad's been with me for forever, but travels with me for the last 10 years. And then having my grandpa George, he comes to the shop 2 or 3 days a week, and it's just a big family deal. And it may not last forever, but today it's really good.
That's all that matters is what is today. And speaking of that, Brian, you talk about, rolling out 20th for qualifying and the track changing. Obviously, you and Danny have hundreds of thousands of laps at this place. How much does Knoxville change just on a weekly basis? Are you hitting marks every single week that are the same? Does it change consistently even through the night? Like, how does Knoxville race from somebody who's turned a bunch of laps there?
I think it races the same as far as like through qualifying and things like that. But as the night goes on, and I think a lot depends on too, I mentioned earlier, with the tires and things like that, but it also depends on, there's times that the Duncans throughout the winter, they'll bring in a new dirt to mix with their old dirt or even the new dirt in general. And I think the track changes when they do things like that. Also, what maybe would work last year maybe doesn't work this year or whatnot. And like Saturday night, for example, in that A main, there's probably 4 or 5 different lines on the track I used throughout that A main and different stages of that A main. So where maybe the week before I used to top the whole race. So it's things like that change. There's really no set stone of like, hey, we're going to go here and you run this line and you're going to win. It's basically you go there and you have to adjust on the fly. You could be running the top. There could be guys on the bottom and they start throwing loose dirt or good dirt across the middle. Then you can run to the middle for a couple laps. So it's just, this place in Williams Grove seemed to be the biggest, as it can change on a lap basis. And I heard Kyle Larson say the same thing about Knoxville, that there's different times throughout the race that you can use the middle, but it may not be there for 20 laps.
It's fascinating. It really, truly is how that place does adapt, how it does go. We've talked a lot about family here, and I do want to continue the conversation about family. You and your wife, Heather, we love following you on social media. You two have a really, really neat relationship, but it struck me, she owns Accessorize Yourself Boutique. You own your own sprint car team. Owning a business is brutal. It just is. Ashley's nodding her head as well with Lethal Chassis up there. Are there things that you and Heather, in running two very distinct different businesses, can bounce off each other or at least understand with each other?
Well, I can tell you, like, whatever I suggest for her business has zero effect on what she thinks. I can promise you that. It's like, hey, you drive race cars and you have a race car team, but I know clothing, so I don't want to hear any of your opinions. So, yeah, I mean, having the boutique is great for her. She cuts hair for a living, but she owns a boutique too. So it's like, what were we thinking on buying a boutique? Like, when do we think we were going to have time for this? But that's her passion, and my racing's my passion. So it's like I do everything in my power to support her, no matter what it is. Whether it's when she comes home and she's had a bad day, whether it's with the employee or whether it's work or whatever, it's a team. And yeah, so she doesn't take much advice from me on the business side on that. And the further I can stay away from that boutique is probably better on my end also.
Well, can we give her a shout out? Does she have a website, a Facebook page that people can go check out and support her?
Yeah, I think it's and see, there you go. I don't even know, probably I'm going to give out the wrong information here, but I think it's her website or a Shopify page is accessorizeyourselfkc.com, I believe. But it's Accessorize Yourself, and she does a great job with it. She cuts hair for a living, but clothing is her passion. So I'm really proud of her. She started a business during a pandemic, or she started a business, and then the pandemic happened. So yeah, she did a great job. She made it through a pandemic, and I couldn't be more proud of her.
No doubt, no doubt. We're chatting with Brian Brown here on the program. Brian, you talk about passion. How difficult year after year after year is it to maintain your passion? And I'm in the same. I'm in a passion business myself, but is it a challenge at times to maintain the level of passion that you continue to maintain?
Absolutely not. I get to wake up every single day and do what I love for a living, and the day that I don't have that passion to do that is the day I'll walk away and say, you know what, I'm going to do something else, because there's a lot of jobs out there. I feel like I can go make way more money or do something different in the corporate world, but I have at this point had no interest, and I want to be involved in racing till the day I die, whether it be a driver like I am today or a car owner like I am today, but whether it's field a car for a kid in 20 years or 10 years. So I love it. I love the sport. I love the fans. I'm a big fan of the sport. The only difference is at 6 o'clock I put a driver's uniform on, but on Sunday night I'm watching Flow, or I'm watching Dirt Vision, or I'm listening to Wing Nation on Monday. I love the sport, and I love being a part of it, albeit a small part of it, and um, my passion is probably more today than it has been, because I am 43 years old. I'm not a spring chicken. I have to work out harder at the gym than I did 5 years ago, because there are young kids that run very, very hard on the racetrack. Aaron Reitzel runs very hard. If you're going to beat him, you got to run hard, and that's I've got to do that, and you got to want it, and I feel like I want it today more than I have any day in my whole life.
Brian, you have a unique schedule. You don't really kind of adhere to one thing. You kind of pick and choose as you go. Obviously, Knoxville, and then you kind of find a run of races that are big paying races. You talked about tires earlier. We know the tire game's a little bit of a mess right now in the world, but fuel prices, obviously a huge deal for you traveling to those big races. Has that kind of changed your trajectory of what your schedule is going to look like for the rest of the season?
So you have to look at the weather, and you don't want to go all the way to Pennsylvania and get rained out for 4 days when it costs you $1,500 to get there. Um, we're so lucky. We have so many great partners on our team. Casey's and FEP, Andy's, Impact Signs, Rowdy, Ditsfield Transfer is a big partner. They help us with a little bit of diesel fuel. Um, so yeah, we're lucky that we have partners that believe in us, that give us the budget to be able to go across the country a time or two throughout the year. But we definitely can't just crisscross the country freewheeling and thinking that the money is going to be there, just because we have to watch our budget. And with tires being the way they are, and fuel prices, it's from Kansas City to Knoxville, it costs us about $500 just to get there. So to go to Pennsylvania, it's about $1 a mile, no matter which way you travel. But I think we might do a little traveling next week. We're looking forward to maybe a little bit of trip out east. So looking forward to that.
Well, it sounds like we might see you then, where we're all looking to go next week out in the eastern part, weather permitting, of course, and all other things staying the same. Brian, it is always a pleasure to chat with you. I love watching Dirt Vision, seeing you roll into victory lane, or catching the highlights the next day and knowing you win. We always appreciate seeing you in victory lane. We know how much it means to you, and we appreciate you joining us here on Wing Nation.
Yeah, it's always good to be there. And like I said, hopefully I kind of hinted on it a second ago. We're looking to come next week to Selinsgrove, Williams Grove, and then the Bob Weichert Memorial. So I've never been able to be out for the Weichert, but knowing who he was to our sport, and how he was, I never got to meet the guy, but I know both his boys, and I think me and that guy would have got along real good. So I want to be able to come out and support the big event like that. And I feel like I'm kind of Pennsylvania's adopted son a little bit. You would come out every September, and they just greet me with open arms. And about 8 or 10 of our T-shirt orders that go out go to Pennsylvania. So they've been very, very good to me, and we'd love to come out and do the Bob Weichert next weekend. And hopefully the weather's good and we can do that. But right now that's the plan. And if I do, very much looking forward to that. So very thankful for you guys having us on, and look forward to be on maybe next week at the Bob Weichert.
We'll work on that, that's for sure. That is Brian Brown joining us here on the Hercules Tire Hotline. Stay with us. More Wing Nation presented by Sage Fruit coming up in just a moment. Wing Nation, presented by Sage Fruit, continues on. Always great to catch up with Brownie, joining us on the Hercules Tire Hotline, where we left off with our lap around the sprint car world. Well, we're in the middle of the backstretch, if you will. Let's take it into turn number 3. Dominic Scelzi, a strong weekend. He swept the Peter Murphy Classic out in California, Ashley.
Yeah, it's awesome to see what Dominic and how dominant he's been last year and continuing into this year out there in California. I know he's got some races slated here in Pennsylvania, but so far it's been an $11,000 payday this past weekend for Dom. So I think he can totally get a taco truck with that money.
Yeah, he's always talking taco truck. We got to figure out how to do that, that's for sure. Picked up the win Friday night. The Peter Murphy Classic is in 2 different places. Tulare on Friday night, and Saturday night he's riding around Hanford in 3rd when Corey Day and Justin Sanders tangled, and he went to the bank, took that to the bank. Also interesting, it's the 2nd time he's won the Peter Murphy Classic, and Dom credits Peter Murphy with continuing his career. At one point in the past, Dom was ready to hang it up, and Peter Murphy said, don't do that. You got to keep going. Good advice for Peter Murphy, from Peter Murphy to Dom, and I know it meant so much for Dom to win that Peter Murphy Classic. Final turn, well, we referenced it earlier on, Jacob Allen. What a week for him. He won at Lincoln Speedway and came up just short at Williams Grove. Jacob Allen making everyone proud, Ashley.
It is, and I got to see his very first win at Dodge City, and Jacob's just a humble, down-to-earth guy, but for him to win at his home track as a World of Outlaw, I can only imagine. I wish I could have been there because I'm sure they burnt the place down to the ground that night, because Jacob winning at home is so huge.
Yeah, that's one of those, we always talk about Outlaws versus Posse. I think that's one where everybody was happy with it. And in winning that race, he becomes only the 3rd part of a father-son combination. Steve and Stevie Smith, pretty good company. Fred and Freddie Raymer, pretty good company. And now Bobby and Jacob Allen winning races. So really good at the fabulous Lincoln Speedway. And he was leading at the Morgan Cup with 2 laps to go and ran out of gas at Williams Grove. I don't even imagine what would have happened if he'd have won that one.
I can't either. And honestly, Steve, Jacob has been in the dash all season long. He's been strong, so it'll be awesome to see how many more wins he can add this year.
No doubt. It is going to be fun, that's for sure. Finally, before we get out of here, we need to tell you that, Ashley, we're coming to your neighborhood. Next weekend, the Weichert Memorial is up at Port Royal Speedway. Wing Nation, we're going to be live from the Weichert Memorial. Can't wait to get up there and catch up with you and catch up with your home folks up there at Port Royal. It's going to be a fun weekend, Saturday and Sunday night racing at the Speed Palace.
It's always fun. I can't wait. And if you can't get there, make sure you tune in, but drive your camper and come on up.
Yeah, well, drive your camper is the key, that's for sure. Camping is allowed. I know there was questions, all kinds of fun stuff with that, but really cool stuff. So Wing Nation will be at the Speed Palace next week. We appreciate Brian Brown joining us here on Wing Nation, but more important than all of that, thank you for joining us here on Wing Nation, presented by Sage Fruit.